a harsh landscape in the Afar Triangle where millions of years of history lay buried beneath layers of dust and stone. As paleoanthropologist Donald Johanson walked along a rocky ridge, something unusual caught his attention. A small piece of bone was glinting in the gravel. At first, it seemed insignificant. The region was already known for preserving ancient fossils, and isolated fragments were not uncommon. But this discovery would prove to be anything but ordinary. At the time, Ethiopia itself was experiencing enormous political upheaval. While the country grappled with uncertainty, a small international team of scientists remained focused on a very different mystery: the search for humanity's earliest ancestors. The expedition was led by French geologist Maurice Taib and included Donald Johanson and fellow researcher Tom Gray. Their mission was simple in theory but monumental in practice: uncover clues about where humans came from. None of them could have imagined that the scattered bones lying beneath their feet would soon rewrite one of the biggest chapters in human history. As excavations continued, more fragments began to appear. First came part of a forearm, then a kneecap. Soon afterward, pieces of a pelvis emerged from the ancient sediment. With every careful brush of dust and every layer removed, excitement inside the camp grew stronger. These were not random bones scattered across the landscape. They belonged to the same individual. Over the following weeks, researchers painstakingly collected every fragment they could find. By the end of the excavation, they had recovered roughly 40% of a single skeleton, an astonishing level of preservation for remains that were millions of years old. The fossil received the scientific catalog number AL288-1, but history would remember her by another name. One evening, while the team celebrated their remarkable discovery back at camp, a Beatles song played over the radio, "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds." The nickname immediately caught on. From that moment forward, the ancient skeleton would simply be known as Lucy. The scientific importance of Lucy was almost impossible to overstate. Using radiometric dating techniques, researchers determined that the fossils were approximately 3.2 million years old. This placed Lucy at a time when the evolutionary story of humanity remained deeply uncertain. Scientists still debated one of the biggest questions in paleoanthropology: which came first? Did our ancestors develop large human-like brains before learning to walk upright? Or did walking on two legs evolve long before intelligence dramatically increased? Lucy appeared to provide an answer. Her anatomy told an extraordinary story. Although her brain remained relatively small, much closer to that of an ape, other parts of her skeleton looked surprisingly human. Her pelvis was broad, her thigh bone angled inward. Her knee joint showed clear adaptation for supporting weight while standing and walking on two legs. Yet at the same time, her fingers remained long and slightly curved, suggesting she still spent considerable time climbing trees. Lucy represented something scientists had never seen so clearly before: a creature that combined features of both ancient apes and early humans. If the evidence was correct, upright walking had evolved millions of years before the large human brain. It was one of the most significant discoveries ever made about our origins. But discoveries as important rarely arrive without controversy. Almost as quickly as Lucy became famous, criticism began to emerge. Some researchers questioned whether the skeleton truly belonged to one individual. Could the excavation team have mistakenly combined bones from different animals or different hominins into a single fossil? Others accused Donald Johanson and his colleagues of moving too quickly. They argued that the team rushed its scientific publications and drew dramatic conclusions before enough independent analysis had been completed. To some critics, the discovery seemed almost too perfect. The skepticism was understandable. Paleoanthropology had already experienced one of the greatest scientific embarrassments in history. Decades earlier, the infamous Piltdown Man had fooled researchers for years before being exposed as deliberate fraud. That scandal left scientists far more cautious whenever extraordinary discoveries were announced. Many refused to accept Lucy's importance without overwhelming evidence. Outside the scientific community, another challenge was unfolding. Ethiopia's political instability created growing concern about the future of the fossils. Questions quickly arose. Who truly owned Lucy? Should such an important discovery remain in Ethiopia? Or should foreign institutions take responsibility for protecting and studying the fragile remains? Some feared the fossils could be damaged. Others worried they might disappear into overseas collections, never to return. For many Ethiopians, Lucy represented more than an extraordinary fossil. She was part of their national heritage. As international attention grew, so did debates over custody, preservation, and scientific authority. Some Ethiopian scholars argued that local scientists deserve greater recognition and leadership in studying discoveries made on their own land. Meanwhile, many Western researchers insisted that rapid international collaboration was essential to properly analyze the fossils. The disagreement became about much more than bones. It became a debate over ownership, recognition, and who had the right to tell humanity's story. Meanwhile, inside universities and research laboratories around the world, scientists continued examining every detail of Lucy's skeleton. Measurements were repeated, bones were reanalyzed, new comparisons were made. Researchers challenged one another's conclusions in journals, conferences, and academic debates. Some questioned whether Lucy truly walked upright as efficiently as humans. Others argued that climbing remained her primary form of movement. For years, the discussion remained unresolved. Then, new evidence began to emerge. In 1976, just 2 years after Lucy's discovery, another extraordinary breakthrough occurred. Mary Leakey and her research team uncovered ancient footprints preserved in volcanic ash at Litoli in Tanzania. The footprints were approximately the same age as Lucy.